Your body knows how to be healthy. I'm your host, Martha Blessing, and this is the Place to Be Free podcast, a show that is passionately devoted to illuminating the potential within you to transform your health and life. We're shaking up and breaking up old paradigms so you can free up your mind and body, elevate your consciousness, and create profound well-being and a ridiculously happy and healthy life. On this show, we defy the norms and embrace a journey toward profound well-being and creating true freedom. We challenge patriarchal medicine, question fear-based culture, and dive deep into topics like quantum healing, energy medicine, mental science, consciousness, and universal spiritual laws. Whether you're here for solo explorations or the insightful interviews with individuals who've conquered fear and disease and broken through limitations, you're in for a transformative experience. If you're seeking empowerment, if you're ready for a life-changing shift, you're in the right place. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Martha Blessing, and I'm answering a question that was sent in by a gentleman, and he wanted to know why traditional medicine and other healing modalities have not helped him. He's had chronic pain for several years after a traumatic memory surfaced 14 years ago. Prior to that time, he felt physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy and in the best place in his life. And so he reached out to me and he wanted to know. Well, without having spoken to him, I can tell you quite a bit about why the other modalities have not worked. And it's really what we talk about all the time on the podcast, and that is what's underneath the surface, what's in the subconscious. And so let's talk about trauma. Let's talk about the energy and the triggers and the things that happen. As somebody who lived in daily chronic pain for 10 years, I understand that. How would I characterize it? What would I say about, and it's a good question. People always would ask me, right? Like, how did you come to be in daily chronic pain? Like, why did you have 3 back surgeries? How did you hurt yourself? And I go over that in my book, Healed and Unlimited, right? But people want, because of the way that we're programmed from Western medicine, and make no mistakes about it, we are programmed. They want us to believe that our bodies don't know how to be healthy. They want us to believe in the medicine and the pills and the surgeries. And again, if I have a life-threatening illness, if I have something urgent, I'm in a car accident and I'm bleeding, or I break something, take me to the ER, right? But for these things, especially the pain is an indicator of mental, emotional, and spiritual pain. Our bodies know how to live without the pain. And so whatever it was that surfaced for this gentleman 14 years ago, as a medical intuitive and an energy intuitive, I can see it and I can feel it just from connecting with him through his email, right? I know his name and I immediately can, as soon as someone asks for help, that's my permission from God and Spirit to tune into that person. So the trigger and the trauma, that whatever it was that came up that he became aware of, all it means is that everything else was repressed until that point in time. So the gift back to everything is happening for me, if we don't want to be a victim, then we have to adapt that approach and think about everything's happening for me. Okay, what is the benefit of this? Because it's been trapped in the cells. It's been trapped in his body. So it went in as a trauma. And now it's coming up and it's coming out. That's exactly the way that I believe the energy happened with my back. Only pre-internet, and it wasn't as easy to find this information way back then. So now we can find the information. But so for me, I didn't have a lot of the time. I didn't have the information. I didn't know where to look. I didn't have any idea. It's a different world now. But most of the modalities in Western medicine, they're not at all interested in the mental, emotional, spiritual aspect, right? The metaphysical, beyond the physical, which is spiritual and energetic. And so even though acupuncture is energy and needles and meridians and channels of energy, all it's doing is going in to release the trapped energy, the congested energy, right? It's not getting at the cause. Why is the energy trapped in that area? Creating pain. What's being hidden? What's being repressed? What's underneath the surface? The issues are in the tissues. Same thing with Reiki. And even healing touch. I don't mean to pick on Reiki. When I was going through certification many years ago, right, and first learning about energy medicine and energy healing and healing touch program, I thought it was so amazing, right? Like, I thought it was all about me, sadly. And I was the person, I was very much in my ego, right? I was the person who was going to move this energy and pull it out of them. Well, it doesn't really work that way, right? We can move energy, and each individual, to me, is more empowering to actually teach someone how to move their own energy, which is what we do in 5 Steps to Freedom, and also in my private Healed and Unlimited mentoring and healing program, right? I don't want you to keep going and dropping yourself off on somebody else's table, because it's not going to remove the core cause. It's only going to move the energy. If you have a trigger and something that you've repressed because it's a discomfort, it's a trauma, you're going to continue to manifest that. There's no way you cannot manifest it, because that's who you're being. That is your identity in your subconscious. And we get what we believe in our subconscious. So that's your identity. So when we're only focused on a modality, on someone else helping us and fixing us, yes, I'm not saying don't do acupuncture. I'm not saying don't go for healing. It feels fabulous. But learn how to move the energy out of your body or move it around in your body, which is very easy to do, and empower yourself to that. Part of this problem is that all of these modalities are focused on the symptoms. And when we know universal laws, when we know cause and effect, we know that energy it can't be created or destroyed. It can only change forms. So it has to be transformed. It has to be transmuted. But it has to be transmuted at the cause, at the core cause. And so this is why the modalities he's asking about haven't helped him or fixed him, right? I had 3 back surgeries. If surgery was the answer, why did the first one work? Because I had not gotten at the guilt, the shame, the beliefs, the abuse, the repressed, all of the energy that was stuck and stored. Say, oh, kids are resilient. Well, not so much. We're resilient in that we just stuff everything down and we go on with our happy way, trying to live as a child. But now that stuff is trapped in us, it's stuck in us. So when it comes to pain, pain is a gift. Pain is a gift. It sucks when you're in it. 10 years of daily chronic pain. I honestly, when I was in it, I had no idea how I was going to get out of it. I truly didn't know if my life was ever going to be better, if it was ever going to change. But I did. And it did. And I didn't actually know the mechanism for it. So I had to go back and study after, like I was successful, but I didn't know why I was successful. So a couple of things with the pain, and it depends what area and what emotion are trapped in your subconscious and in your beliefs and in your body. Like the three go together. But you're upholding something related to that trauma. So now it's come out, but it's moving. And it's there for you. The pain is there for you to address it, to fully expand into your God self and your true self. So grief stored in our heart center, multiple reasons and experiences why we have grief. Mostly it's about feeling unlovable and unworthy. Hold in our heart center, that will cause heart problems, high blood pressure, right? If the energy can't get down, the energy's coming down, spiritual energy comes from above and meets at this bridge in the heart. The physical survival energy comes up through the root chakras, the lower chakras in the body, and meets in the heart. So if we're not allowing ourselves to actually bring the truth, our God self, that we are divine, that we are spiritual substance, that God is a loving God, that the universe is a loving universe. If we're believing in the lies, the pain, the stories, the unlovable, the unworthy, the shame and the guilt, then we're holding that in our heart. We can't allow ourselves to receive. Bingo, it comes up. There it is. Whatever is, how we do one thing is how we do everything. It's showing up somewhere in our life for a reason. So it's going to show the cardiac symptoms. That's a gift. It's a wake-up call. You've got energy and grief trapped in here. You want to take a look at that. And I'm sorry, I believe therapy is wonderful, but it only goes so far because it continues to focus on the symptoms and the events and where you're going and not where you've been, not where you're going. You need to focus universal spiritual energy and laws, cause and effect. We need to put what it is we desire mentally, emotionally out into substance. We're like a little divining rod, right? Who we are, what energy we're carrying is what we're putting out into spiritual substance. So it can't align and it can't resonate with us, no matter how much of the Western medicine and again, the alternative modalities, they're only going to be a Band-Aid. Haven't gotten to the core cause. Shame in the solar plexus. That's typically where it's stored, is shame. It erodes our self-esteem and our self-worth. So that pain, everybody knows it well, Crohn's, IBS, any of the digestive issues are stored there. Now, there can be a loop energetically, right? If there's even just a small amount of grief in the heart center that is being held and stored there. When we do practices or we do healing or we do things to help open up to our spiritual self, the energy will come in and come down. And if there's something that hasn't been resolved here from a trauma, it'll just get stuck and it'll loop back up. Right? This is why, so many times there's like a bridge here as well. It'll get stuck and the energy will just loop and loop and loop because it can't get out and it can't go down. So that's heart energy, throat energy, all of those things. But the shame is situation and circumstances too much to process sometimes, right? That can loop from the throat to the heart to the stomach. That can cause like an acid reflux and a GERD. So it's all situational. Depends on what you're holding. And in many cases, this gentleman, whatever the trauma is, the energy could just be looping between the throat, which will cause like pain all in your neck and your shoulders and your back. It could be spinal, where all of the spine is what holds us upright. It holds us firm and solid and upright in life. And so we'll have different areas that, whether, we're always talking about the chakras in the front of the body, but they're in the front and they're in the back too, right? So if there's a lot of pain on the backside, it's literally like, oh, I can't see back there, right? Let me hide my shit back there, because it's really hard to look back there and see it. It's a really safe place to hide things if we don't want to face whatever the trauma is. Right. So remember that it's not just like front of the body. So the spine literally is the life force, right? The breath is the life force, but the spine energetically, we have all of these nerves and central nervous system and complexes that come out of the spine that are literally just channels of God and spiritual substance. This is what they are. So when we have pain, whether it's nerve pain, disc pain, whatever, we have found a way in our belief system to close ourselves off from the truth of our being in our bodies as spiritual substance. And I sound like a broken record, but it's back to guilt and shame. It's back to the core wound. It's back to whatever this core cause is that we've believed in and integrated into our being. That's what needs to get corrected. We're holding it somewhere. And so we're constricting ourselves. We're constricting mentally our beliefs about who we are. We're unlovable, we're unworthy, the shame, all of these things, right? It's this big ball of crap, of lies that we've believed and taken on, and we're holding that energy in our bodies. And so wherever our symptoms are just a tool and a messenger about what we're holding and where we're holding it. So with the gut, with the stomach, with the reflux, and all of the illnesses that we have with digestion, no pill is going to help that pain. No pill is going to change. The worst thing that a person can do if they have digestive and reflux and acid and gas, that's literally a burning, like put out the fire. What are you mad at? Who are you mad at? What are you burning about and holding? The worst thing we can do is actually take the Prilosec and those proton pump inhibitors and all of the things that turn off the stomach acid, because your body is divinely intelligent and divinely created, and God knew exactly what he was doing when he created us in order to digest our food. It is not about too much tomato or too much this or too much that, right? I divert here, but I was out to dinner with a group of ladies, and actually we were out to a theater and then we were out to dinner. And she sat next to me at theater, and in intermission, she went out, she got some water, and she came back with a couple bags and boxes of candy, right? Like M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, Twizzlers, all this stuff. I was having a heart attack in the seat next to her, right? Because I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine eating all that sugar. Like, I know what my body would do. I'd be in pain, right? But then when we got to dinner, she ordered dinner, and she ordered chicken parm without the tomato. Okay. So here we have this belief in Western medicine. Oh, it's the acid of the tomatoes. No, it's not. You just ate a bunch of sugar, but also it's energetic. Our body knows how to digest all of these foods. And when we're taking pills to shut off these enzymes, to shut off the things that are actually meant to digest our foods, that's quite honestly, in my opinion, a slow, miserable death. Because that's how you get leaky gut. It's a vicious, vicious cycle. Anyway, back to this idea of pain. When it comes to pain, the traumatic memory usually carries, again, some kind of shame and guilt with it. So for this gentleman, the energy surfaced, there was this trauma, and now he can't figure out how to get rid of the pain and why aren't things working? Well, chances are you have not addressed the shame and the guilt that is being stored, that is coming with whatever that trauma was. So you can be aware of the trauma and have it come to the surface. But again, because we said energy can't be created or destroyed, it can only change form. So that energy of guilt and shame is what's trapped in the cells and creating the equivalent on a cellular level for shame and guilt. Shame, I'll leave this in the show notes. One of the best books, Power versus Force, David Hawkins, MD, talks about truthfully, and it's why I say, I honestly, in my 30 years of doing this work, I believe that shame is the cause of all illness trapped in our bodies. It's definitely the cause of anxiety and depression. But I truly believe now, after doing all this work, that it's the energy and the frequency of the shame that causes illness. And so you want to look at, and I'll probably talk about this more in the podcast. We go deeper into this in my group and my private programs on the energy of shame. And it is the lowest frequency that a human being can hold. It's like at 20 in the kinesiology and the muscle testing. It's at a 20. It's like the lowest, right? And so just getting up to the highest is around 600. So imagine where 20 is at shame. And then, you can jump, right? You can jump from 20 down really low up to at least 200, which is acceptance. Pure love is up at 600. So it's a wonderful book, Power versus Force, to help with this. Those healing modalities, there's no pill going to help with any of this, with the cellular memories. Some people will be, let me do a past life regression, or let me, again, do, like soul retrievals and all this other. Quite honestly, in my years and years of working with people, I have not seen those things work. Unless you have purged the belief from the subconscious, I've not seen, first of all, my belief is people who come at me with this, soul retrieval stuff, your soul didn't go anywhere. Your soul is in you, or you wouldn't be breathing. You wouldn't be here in this 3D reality. So you don't need your soul to be retrieved. You need the story and the tape that's in your subconscious and your belief identity to be removed. And that can be removed from the subconscious. But typically, again, what happens, we've got this cellular memory while we're having this chronic pain, and I get it because I did it for 10 years. We have a belief that we need to be punished in some way. And this belief is we're not necessarily conscious of it. You may have had a great life and been healthy and fit and been successful, but sooner or later, our soul will ask us to heal and to step into the truth of who we are. So he buried that trauma and he went on with his life and became really successful. But now that trauma and that memory came up, and it's in the awareness, and it's there to be released. And part of that release is going to be where are you believing in or thriving in punishing yourself, right? Like we have to break through punishing ourselves because we've somehow been asked to keep a lie. We've somehow been pulled into this guilt and this shame. And the pain is the best way for us to punish ourselves. Again, it's not conscious. People think that, oh, I thought of this and I want to know, why would I want to punish myself? We do that, again, unconsciously because we try to relieve ourselves of that shameful event. We try to relieve ourselves of the shameful event. And it doesn't have to be, obviously, like I went through a lot of abuse when I was a child. But it doesn't even have to be a big event. It doesn't have to be like some big abuse or something. It can be a very simple thing, or maybe several small repetitive things that got repeated that we feel badly about. It could be something related to a sibling. It could be, I have had many clients who have been like the older sibling that had to take care of everybody else in an abusive childhood. They'll create guilt and shame about how they didn't save somebody from a beating or from abuse, or like it. The levels and the layers go deep, deep, my friends. So somehow, some way, usually what happens is that our parents use guilt and shame to control and manipulate our behavior when we're young. We see it and we hear it all the time. Be a good boy, be a good girl, get good grades, right? Like, how are we measured as children? We're measured in school by our performance. We're told, this is one of my favorites, right? Santa Claus, be a good boy. Santa knows if you've been good or bad. Like, we're being guilted and shamed all the time. And we hold that in our subconscious. We hold that in our tissues, right? So, until we uncover what that is, or until we learn how to release it, we have to identify the cause, which I'm telling you mostly what it is now. If you don't have a specific that comes to mind, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you can't heal it. There are ways to use your subconscious to help you uncover what the cause is. If you don't know what it is, that's okay. You can still understand that it's shame and it's guilt. Everyone has it. Doubt and fear. And it's about safety. It's about feeling safe. It's something we created as a child. So I'll give you the perfect example real quick. When I was a child, I was about 10, 12 years old. My mom was having an affair, right? I was old enough to know that something was going on. I didn't know what, but she was seeing someone when we were on vacation in Florida. It was actually someone that she knew and she dated. I've talked about it before on the podcast, but it's someone that she knew and she dated when she was in college, and they broke up. Actually, they were engaged. And then she ended up marrying my dad. So, she reconnected with this gentleman. And so she was seeing him when we were on vacation in Florida. And, I knew it wasn't my dad. I knew something was up, right? But I wasn't old enough to really know what was going on. I was just old enough to know something's going on. So I kept her secret. Right? I didn't tell my dad, Mom saw some guy for dinner the other night and left me at the hotel for dinner. I was damned if I do and damned if I don't, right? If I outed my mom that she was doing this, I would have betrayed her and I wouldn't have gotten her love and approval. But by not telling my dad, I'm not upending from him, right? Because I want to get his love and approval, right? So I'm stuck in the middle. Either way, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. I'm going to betray one of my parents. And so we don't want to betray our parents. We want to feel love and approval and safety from our parents. So I kept her secret. And I betrayed my dad. And I think now in hindsight, right, I was more afraid of my mom than I was of my dad. So I didn't say anything. Well, eventually my dad knew and he figured it out. And it all blew up. But I integrated the lies and the guilt and the shame into my being in order to get love, safety, security, self-esteem. Okay. But the energy and betrayal and fear and confusion out of this situation was a bit much for a 10, 12-year-old to handle, right? So I imprinted all of that into my subconscious and into my body to try to feel safe. I made a choice and I made a decision and I created a belief about what I had to do to stay safe and to get love. And this is what happens. This is how the trauma and the events and the things that have happened to us get stored. They're in the subconscious. We create a belief around it, and we create a belief around safety and love. So I went into hiding in secrets and shame. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That kind of energy eats away at you little by little, day by day. And it's not enough to just have someone work on you to excavate and move stuck energy. Yes, a gifted practitioner can see and feel that energy and diffuse it and move it. It's going to come back because you personally have made a choice about and a belief about something that's based in that energy and that frequency. And it's not getting out until you choose and decide something different. And that's why the gift of pain is happening, so that you can remove it at the core cause, so that you can see yourself for who you really are. Divine love, God, and spiritual substance. You are not the shame. You are not the trauma. You are not the trigger. You are spiritual substance. You are love. So it is coming up for you to integrate. When you can let it go on the subconscious level and accept that your body is spiritual substance. This body is God in motion, perfectly created without illness. When you can accept on the subconscious level that your body is spiritual substance and God in motion, perfectly created without illness, you will experience spontaneous healing. It's really, truly let go, let God. You have to let that energy in to your body and your being. And so what's happened with this gentleman is the trauma's come up to the surface, but he's not yet able to accept that fact. He's created a belief about it, and that's what's stuck. That's what's creating the pain. It's emotional pain. Of not being able to move past and understand and see your true self. If you're struggling with any of this, please reach out to me. Go to marthablessing.com and sign up for a consultation. Listen to the podcast, read my book, so that you can understand how we create illness and how we uncreate illness and create the next level of well-being. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Place to Be Free podcast. If you found inspiration in our discussions on empowered living, mindset, and spiritual laws and healing, don't forget to subscribe and share the wisdom with your community. Connect with me on social media, and for exclusive content, free resources, and to stay updated on upcoming episodes, visit the website at marthablessing.com/free stuff. Until next time, remember, you're the author of your story. Keep breaking through barriers, defy old worn-out beliefs and patterns, and create a life without limitation. I'll see you in the next episode.